The old dog stands alone inside the center of his cold and quiet cell.
He shifts his heavy weight specifically to the right to find support. I watched him from the hallway, and I did not understand his strange routine. He leans his body hard against the air, as if a person is standing there. But no one stands beside him, so he stumbles, and he nearly hits the floor. He looks up at the empty space with such a gentle and expectant gaze. I checked the intake notes to see if he was injured or if he was sick.
The medical exam was clear and stated he was healthy for his age. But every hour on the dot, he tries to lean on what isn't there. I have worked as a volunteer inside this crowded county shelter for 10 years. The concrete walls are cold and always echo with the barking of the dogs who wait. Sarah is the head vet tech, and she has seen every kind of broken heart come through these doors. She told me that Barnaby was found alone and confused near the old city train yards. I tried to sit beside him on the floor to offer him a gentle human touch. But he would not look at me or even take the treats I placed right by his paws. He only wanted to lean his heavy, tired bones against the ghost he clearly saw. It is the saddest thing to watch a loyal dog waiting for a ghost to come back. We knew we had to solve this mystery before his time inside here ran out. I decided to spend my entire lunch break sitting right there on the cold concrete floor. I extended my hand so he could smell me, but he did not even turn my head. He kept his right shoulder pressed hard against the air, like he was held by love. I tried to move my body into the empty space to catch him if he fell down. But the moment I touched his side, he shuffled away to find a new empty spot. He found a new patch of empty air and leaned his weight until he almost tipped. It was not just balance issues, because his eyes were fixed on someone I could not see. He was waiting for a specific height and a specific leg to hold him up.
I realized then that he was not just lost, but he was deeply grieving for a friend.
I brought in every spare blanket I could find to make him a soft place to rest. But he stepped right over all the comfort that I offered him to lean on air. I tried to prop up a heavy cushion against the wall to mimic a sturdy frame. He sniffed the fabric once and turned away because it did not smell like his dad. The constant leaning and the catching of his heavy weight was wearing him down fast. He refused to lay down to sleep and just kept standing there waiting for the return. I stood as still as a statue, hoping he would finally rest his weight on me. He looked at me with tired eyes, but he would not betray the memory he kept. He was determined to stay awake and ready for the person who was not coming. Watching his giant body tremble with exhaustion was breaking my heart in two. 2 days went by, and Barnaby was still on duty, waiting for his missing friend.
His legs were shaking badly like dry leaves in the wind, but he would not lay down.
The food bowl sat there full and untouched in the corner of his cold and lonely cell. By day 4, the lack of deep sleep was taking a heavy toll on his old body.
He stumbled hard and his chin hit the concrete floor with a heavy and painful thud.
We rushed in to check him, but he just pulled himself back up to stand again.
Sarah checked his weight and saw that he had lost 5 pounds in just a few days.
His heart was working too hard to keep him standing up for all these endless hours.
He was slowly fading away, right in front of our eyes inside that cold kennel.
If he did not sleep soon, his loyal heart would simply stop beating for good and all.
The vet said his old heart was under too much strain from the stress of the long wait.
She gave us 24 hours to fix this behavior, or we would have to act.
We could not let him suffer until his organs failed from the lack of any sleep.
I felt the heavy weight of the clock ticking down on his innocent old life. I looked at him standing there, so loyal and so brave, but dying on his feet. His eyes were glassy and red, and his breath came in short and shallow little rasps. I told Sarah I would stay the night, and I would not leave him there all alone. I needed to find the answer before the sun came up and his time ran out for good.
This was the last chance we had to save him from the silence of the final sleep.
The shelter settled down into a silence as the lights hummed above our heads.
I sat on the cold floor and I began to speak to him of loss and letting go. I told him that I also knew the pain of waiting for a ghost to walk through the door.
He seemed to listen to the tone of my voice as it echoed off the concrete walls.
He turned his head slowly, and he looked at me with a question in his tired eyes.
He saw that I was just another broken thing that was looking for a friend to hold.
He took a stiff and painful step away from the ghost that he had been leaning on.
He moved his heavy body until he was standing right there beside my folded legs. He lowered his chin, and he rested it gently on my shoulder for a moment.
My hand brushed against his collar, and I felt a lump hidden inside the leather.
I froze as my fingers traced the outline of something hard beneath the old leather.
I gently undid the heavy brass buckle while he stood there trusting me completely.
I held the worn collar up to the dim light to see what was hidden inside the seams.
There was a slit in the lining where the stitching had been carefully cut open wide.
I pulled at the edge, and a strip of white plastic slid out from its hiding place. It was not a note or a tag, but a plastic bracelet from a hospital ward. The ink was faded, but I could still read the patient number and the unit name.
It was the ID band of the person he had been leaning against for all this time.
This was the last thing his owner wore before they were forced to say their goodbye.
I pulled out my phone to look up the unit code printed on the plastic band.
The screen lit up with the words, Palliative Care and Hospice Unit 4B. Suddenly, the image of the last few months became so crystal clear in my mind. His owner had been too weak to stand alone and needed a sturdy frame to hold.
Barnaby had become the living crutch that held his person upright until the end.
He was not just leaning on a ghost, but he was still trying to keep them from falling. They must have tucked this band inside his collar before the ambulance arrived.
It was a final, silent promise that he had done his job, and he had done it well.
He was not a confused old dog, but a faithful guardian keeping his watch.
I finally understood exactly what I needed to do to help him let go.
He did not need a bed or a treat, but he needed to know his work was finished.
I ran to the storage room and I grabbed a long and heavy body pillow from the shelf. I placed it upright against the concrete wall and I held it steady there. I wrapped it in a flannel shirt to make it feel like a human leg to him.
Barnaby stepped closer to the strange, soft object standing in the corner. He hesitated for a second, and then he leaned his weight against the form.
The pillow did not move away, but held him up, just like his father did.
I saw the tension leave his neck as he realized he was finally safe to rest. His long legs finally buckled, and he slid down slowly to the concrete floor.
For the first time in 5 days, he closed his heavy eyes and fell asleep. The morning sun poured in, and Barnaby woke up with a brand new light inside his eyes. I called the hospital ward, and they confirmed a patient passed away last week.
He had walked for miles to find the place where he last saw his favorite person leave.
Sarah brought him a bowl of fresh, warm food, and he ate every single bite with joy. His heart was steady now, and the shaking in his legs had finally gone away.
We knew he needed a quiet home that understood the heavy weight of a long goodbye.
Sarah looked at me and said she had an empty spot beside her own reading chair.
She did not just see a stray, but a soul who knew how to love right to the end.
I watched her sign the adoption papers with a steady hand and a gentle smile.
Barnaby walked out of that metal cage, and he never once looked back at the ghosts.
3 months have passed, and Barnaby has found his rhythm in a quiet, loving house.
He no longer searches for the ghosts in the corners or the shadows of the room. But in the quiet evenings, he still seeks a place to rest his heavy, weary bones. He leans his weight against Sarah's chair as she reads her book in the soft lamplight. He is still a guardian, but now he watches over someone who is here to stay.
If you live alone with a loyal friend, please make a plan for their future care.
Leave a note or tell a friend so they are not left waiting for a ghost to come.
Please share this story to help us find a home for every waiting heart today.
And subscribe to our channel to watch more broken spirits find their way back home.